Hello and welcome to another Hyper Content and Digital Asset Management Server screencast. This time I want to present you the new graphical user interface and most of the features of the Hyper Content and Digital Asset Management Server version 8. Version 8 is new. It will be officially released in March 2019. So first things first, we need to log in. Usually you provide a username and password. There's also a multi-factor authentication that you can enable in the system. You can also reset the password. That's also a feature that you can enable and disable in the main configuration. And you can also allow new users to sign up for the system. That's also a feature that you can enable and disable in the main configuration. Keep in mind, if somebody registered, this person will not be assigned to any group or any permissions, so you have to release that person manually, or you use a workflow to check this person and release it automatically. So what we are doing right now, we just simply want to log in into this system, which I will do right now. And there we are. Now we're logged in. We can see the home screen. And what we see on the left side of the screen is the left navigation bar. It offers some very basic information about the version of our system here, for instance. Next is the home screen. Again, you will notice when I move my mouse over one of those icons, I will see what this icon is about. So the first one is the home screen. If I click on it, it will just be refreshed and it will be maximized. What we see on the home screen is some basic information. I can configure the home screen by just simply selecting one of those home boxes and put it on my home screen. I can also sort them according to my preferences. In this example here on my home screen, I have the task list. So I see all my tasks that have been assigned to me by somebody else. So the different background colors means different priorities. Then I have my recent objects, my recent downloads, my recent uploads. Then I have access to my reports. So the reports have to be defined by somebody that has access to the report management. And then I can just simply select them and can see, okay, where is the latest user coming from, for instance. Or I can select another report and see, okay, my most of the storage is consumed by videos, for instance. Then I can also select favorites, so my favorite assets, for instance. And I have just one favorite asset that I can see here. Next item in our navigation bar is the navigation tree. So what you see here is my personal desktop, administration. Again, I need to have permissions to access the administrative features. And then we have three different so-called publications. So publications can be, for instance, a website. It can be a digital asset management platform. It can be a repository for different components that you might integrate into other websites, partner websites, and shops. I will go to the next item, to the search. The search offers you a very basic search, a general search that you just type in an expression and you can look for that expression in all your assets, pages, components. Keep in mind that the system will analyze and index all the content of Microsoft Office documents, of OpenOffice documents. So that means if the content is stored in a Microsoft Word document or in a PowerPoint, Excel sheet, or any of those OpenOffice documents in a PDF file, or it's maybe a metadata in an image, in a video, in an audio file, it will index these contents automatically. and you can search for them. If you don't want to search for content, but you want to rather find a file by its file name that you uploaded a while ago, you can also say, I only want to look for the object names. And you can also restrict it to certain publications if you want to. So next is the advanced search. For the advanced search, you have to keep in mind that all the content that you store in the system is pretty much based on templates. So when you operate a website, you will have maybe multiple templates. Templates consist of mainly HTML code, JavaScript code, cascading style sheets, and so on. So the templates can be a design, like in the form of an HTML web page. They can maybe also be a PDF file, so you want to render a PDF document or any other type of document. Or they can be a simple metadata schema or metadata definition. So what kind of metadata fields I want to use for my organization. So in this case, we just pick for the Demo Digital Asset Management solution. So our digital asset management platform, we have just one single template that we're using. As we can see here, it's called default. So we select it. And then we will see all the fields that we can now look into. So we can type in any expression in one of those fields, and we can also combine those fields for the search with and or. Next is keywords. So here you see a list of all the keywords in your system. The keywords are based on keywords fields. Keyword fields can be also linked to your taxonomy if you are using it, or just a simple list of keywords. So here you see all the keywords that are used right now in the system in all those publications. And you see the number of objects that are using the same keyword. So for instance, if I see audio is used by 11 different probably assets. So I just select it, and now the system will present me with all the assets that have been found here. Next is media. The media search supports a search for types. So let's say I just want to find videos, for instance, for file size, for media size. So that means it can also be an exact size that you are looking for, the width and height. An image type and image colors. So whenever you upload or import an image, for instance, the image will be analyzed and all the primary colors will be saved. So when I want to look for images that are using, for instance, one of their primary colors, red and blue, I can start the search and I will again find those images with a primary color of red and blue. Next is the geolocation search. You just pretty much drag a layer over the map to define your search area. So whenever a user has uploaded an asset inside the search area, it will present you the search result of all those assets that have been uploaded in this geolocation. So you just simply can drag any layer by clicking the right mouse button. Next is the last modified search. You just simply select a range of dates or just one date. So if you want to look for something that is older or newer than a certain date. Next is the object and link ID. So what you need to know is each object, let's say an image, has always a unique object ID. It's not really important for you. More important is that it also has a unique hash code. So whenever you send somebody a download link in an email, it will also be presented by using a hash code. So if you don't know what is actually behind this hash code, you can copy the hash code, paste it in here, and you will find the object again. The container ID, Here it's important to know the container ID is a presentation of the content itself. Keep in mind we are using templates. So I can use, for instance, two different templates based on the same content. So the content means maybe the text, maybe the image, whatever is the content is the same, and I create a connected or linked copy of the same content. So I have maybe different objects using the same content. So whenever I change the content, all the objects will be changed. So here I can look also for a specific container ID, which is the content. Then I can also look for the sender or the receiver of a message. So let's say I send somebody a message, I don't know what it was exactly or what I sent in this message. I can find it again, and I also can filter by dates as well. And last but not least, we have a save of all the search parameters that I'm using right now, so I can easily execute the same search again. Next, we want to take a look at the chat. You will find the chat here on the sidebar again. You click on it, and then you will see on the left side a chat window has been opened. You can invite other users that are currently online to the chat. You can just simply type a message down here for the chat. Let's see, hello. And what is maybe also very important, you can also select an item and send it to the chat. So this way you can discuss about the object in the chat. You can simply click on it, open it, and you can make any annotations on it or use, for instance, also fields. Sometimes there's also, depending on your configuration, a comment field where you can also just post your comments. The next button is the logout button, and on the bottom we see an information about our username and the date and time of the selected time zone of my user. Now we want to take a look at the navigation tree and especially at my personal desktop. So I open the desktop and I have access to my personal settings. So here I can, for instance, change the password. I can select the language of the user interface, my time zone that I'm in, or my design team. Keep in mind that the design team might also be predefined by an administrator, so I might not be able to change or even see it here. Next is the project management module. So if I already have selected a project, it will just show up here. I can also create, of course, a new project. I can create new sub-projects for my project, and I also can create a new task. You just simply click on the button and now I would be able to create a sub-project, and I also can connect any folder or asset document to my tasks here. So this, on the first level, we see the project. On the second level here we see a sub-project, and followed by the tasks. The different background colors means again a different priority. So blue is low, orange is high, and so on. I can simply change any of the content of my task, for instance, by just simply clicking into the field and change the name. I can change the date, assign a user, assign any kind of documents or folders. I can change the description, set the priority, and also define a planned effort. In the second tab, I can view the Gantt chart. Again, here we'll see my project and also the status of the different tasks. Next, we take a look into the task management. In the task management, I see my personal tasks, so tasks that somebody has assigned to me. Here I can report the status of the work and also the actual efforts. The management tab is for the tasks that I have assigned to somebody else, so I can make corrections and I can see the status again. Next on our list is the favorites. Favorites are my personal favorites that I have selected to be in my list here, so I can easily access my favorites again. Checked out objects. Whenever you see an icon that represents a lock, it means that the item, the object, the asset, the page, the component has been checked out by my user. So if I open it, I will also see this item here. So the lock is closed, that means it's checked out. If I click on it, it will be checked in. I want to leave it checked out. Checking out any item means that it's exclusively locked by my user. So only I'm allowed to change the object and nobody else. So I have to check it in order to get other users or to provide other users access again to the objects. Messages is a collection of all the messages that I have sent to somebody. Publishing queue is a presentation of all the objects that I will publish in future at a certain date and time. So if I want to revert my publishing process, I can also remove it again from the publishing queue. Travel through time is a feature that is using the versioning, the automatic versioning of the system. So each time you publish an object or you change an image, you change a video, a document, whatever, it will be automatically versioned. So a new version will be created. You can compare these versions, you can roll back to a version. But what is important here right now, I can select a date for the content and for the design. So the design means the template. Maybe you change the design of your website over time. And of course the content might have been changed over time. So you can just select the date and just take a look, for instance, at your website again, how it looked like back in the days. Next is the administration. Keep in mind, also for the administration, I need to have permissions to access these features. Let's take a look at the publication management. The publication management enables you to create new publications, to delete publications, and to also edit publications. So in this case, we take a look at the DMO Content Management System publication. This is more about technical parameters. Where will these pages be located on your web server, for instance? Keep in mind that the system supports 100% staging. That means even if you uninstall the system, the website will still be present and will be functional. I will skip a lot of those features here. You can also select languages for an automated translation and also for your taxonomy. So whenever a user wants to translate the content into a different language, he can use this feature. And only the languages that you have selected will be provided to him. The same for the taxonomy. So if you're using the taxonomy editor to set up your multilingual taxonomy, again, you can use the automatic translation. Next is the optical character recognition. So keep in mind, whenever you upload images that maybe present any kind of text in the image, OCR can be used to extract this text. Also, if you scan documents. So we pretty much have images inside a PDF document. Again, OCR can be used to extract the text again from those images. The second tab enables you to set inheritance between different publications. So for instance, you can say, I want to assign the content of another publication to my publication. I want to assign the templates from a central publication to other publications. That makes sense when you have maybe multiple websites using the same design, but they are operated by different organizations, maybe in different languages. Next is the user management. Here I will see all the users in my system. Of course, I can create new users. If I select a user, I can also delete the user. I can change the user. I can see all the files, all the assets that have been uploaded by this user so the user is the owner of all these files. I can also select the users by their membership of different publications. Keep in mind I can also select multiple users at the same time if I want to. So I can, for instance, delete them, or I can right click and delete them as well. If I select a user, what is important to know is I assign the user to one or more publications. So I give him pretty much access to one of my publications or even more publications. Next are the system events. So here the system will log all the entries. For instance, user interactions. A user has deleted an object. A user has uploaded a new object, and so on. All these events will be automatically tracked. Of course, you can export this into an Excel sheet. You can clear the events. And what you also will see here are warnings and errors. Warnings and errors can also be used to automatically notify a specific user in case of such a warning or error. Publishing queue. We have seen that already in my personal desktop, but this time it's the administrator's publishing queue. So that means he actually sees all the items in the publishing queue. Not only his own items, he sees all the items. Import-export. This feature can be used to import or export assets, pages. If I want to, for instance, export my assets, I can easily do that by just selecting the folder that I want to export. In this case, I want to export all the assets. I can now define a directory on my server, maybe also FTP server. There's some kind of settings. What is important, I can set all kind of conditions. So for instance, I want to automatically export all the old assets that are not used anymore. So let's say if the asset is 10 years old or has been created 10 years ago and has not been viewed in the last 5 years, I want to export all those assets. So you can define the creation date, limit, and also the last modification date or the last access date and so on, or different conditions based on the metadata of the assets. So if you enable the job, the assets will be automatically exported to the given location. Of course, you can also import your assets again, or you can also import assets from a given location. For instance, a file server where you store all the assets and you just want to import them automatically into your system. So this is pretty much the same. You can define again a name because maybe you want to enable a job again, and you can define any directory on your file server or also FTP server and have some options that you can set and just import all the assets again. Next is report management. Again, you can create your own reports, you can delete reports, and you can just simply access reports. Let's take a look at the geolocation report. What you see here, you can give the report, of course, a name. You can select any kind of information that is saved in entities. So in this case, we selected the username, the latitude, and the longitude. The selected attributes can be seen here. Then you can set any kind of definition. So in this case, the latitude and the longitude must not be empty. We can group the information. We can also order the information. At the end, we create a SQL statement. Of course, you can also type in your own SQL statement if you want to without the help of the graphical user interface. And then you select a chart type. In this case, it's the GeoChart, and we just assign the values to the axis of our GeoChart. Next are plugins. The system comes with some predefined plugins. Of course, you can develop your own plugins, and this plugin management just helps you to activate or deactivate the plugins. So now we take a look into our demo content management system publication. What we see here is again an administration, a personalization, workflows, templates, assets, and pages. Let's start with the administration. So a publication is a unique entity for an organization. So in this case, we are managing our website. So I see all the users that have access to my publication. And what is now important, and the difference between the main user administration, is I can click on a user and I will see if he's assigned to any group. So here I can assign the role or the group Chief Editor to the specific user and save him. That means that the user has been assigned to a specific group. So what we need to know now is that all the permissions are connected to groups and not directly to users. So what else can we do here? We can also select a user and we can delete it, we can edit it, we can again see all his ownership on assets. We can define a registration of new users in case you're using a registration, and we can also filter the users by their group membership. But now let's take a look at the group management. Again, you can create new groups, you can delete groups, or you can edit groups. So if we take a look at the Chief Editor again, we will see all the permissions that are connected with this specific group. So you can see the desktop management permissions. So the user has in general access to the desktop management, but he cannot access his personal settings, he cannot access the project management, but he has access to the task management, to the favorites, to the checked out items, but not to the feature travels through time. He has no permissions for the user or the group management. He cannot set up personalization of your website. He cannot access the workflow management, and so on and so on. What he can is, he can manage actually all your assets, but what is excluded is he cannot delete folders. Grant page management means this is the actual website, all the pages, and here again he has permissions to do so, but not including folders or deleting pages. What else is important? You can also set now the access to a specific folder. So in this case, the user has access to the root of all your pages. Of course, you can also remove that and you can say he just should have access to the company information and to the products as well. So next are system events. We have seen it already in the administrative part. It's the same, but these are just events that are directly connected to only the publication demo content management system and not any other publications. Personalization can be used to define customer tracking and profiles. That means active and passive personalization that can be used to show content based on the behavior of users. I won't go into any details of the personalization. The next feature is the workflow. We will also skip this. The workflow will be presented in the digital asset management publication. So now let's take a quick look into all the templates. There are page templates. Page templates are used to define the basic design of your pages. Component templates are used to define reusable components. Template includes can be a source of code that is reusable for both the pages, the components, or even maybe metadata templates. Metadata templates are used to define the metadata schema for all your digital assets. And template media can be any kind of image, cascading style sheet, external JavaScript code that will be used for your pages or also for your component templates. Let's take a very quick view into page templates. So you can create, of course, new templates, you can delete templates, and you can also edit templates. So let's take a look into the detail page template. And what we see here is pretty much the source code, the HTML code combined with specific tags that the system is using to define editable areas like text content, images that you can include, and so on. I will not go into any details, but the tag wizard can be used to just simply select any kind of code and insert a tag, an editable tag, into the specific area here. What the system is also providing you is a versioning. So here you will see the versions of the template. So again, you can take a look into the presentation. That means here you see the placeholders. You can take a look at the source code of these older versions, and you can also compare the different versions with each other, or you can even go back to an older version using the rollback feature. Information is just basic information about the template. Let's take a look at the assets. Assets are pretty much all the images that you might use, or maybe some kind of multimedia content like videos and so on that you might use for your website. It also can be any kind of component, like for instance this component is used to define basic information of the website, like the name, maybe a slogan, the email address that should be used, links to social media platforms and so on. More important are the pages. So the pages are actually the pages that your website consists of. We can now click on any of those pages. We can use the taskbar here to perform some actions. So we can select the preview, which will present a preview of the homepage, and we can also test this page on different screen sizes, like notebook or desktop screen sizes, tablets or smartphones. So let's select, for instance, the smartphone, the iPhone 7. So you can see the design on the iPhone 7, how it will look like. You can also, of course, you can also test it by clicking on elements there and see if it's working and how it will work. You can also rotate the screen and see how it will look like when you rotate the screen on your smartphone, and test the same page again. Then there is the live view. The live view is the presentation of the version that is actually online right now and can be seen by your visitors. You have the same features again as you already have seen in the preview. Of course, you can also edit or change the content. You can rename it, you can delete it, you can cut it and paste it somewhere else. You can copy it and paste it, and you can create a connected copy and paste it again. Connected copy means you have two versions of the same content using maybe different templates, so different presentations. If you change the content on one page, it will be automatically changed on the other page as well. So this is the so-called connected copy. Of course, you can also use the context menu to perform the same actions. You can create folders to structure your website. You can create new pages that are always based on a template. So you can select the home page, and here you see how it will look like, what elements are in this home page. You can send also email links to somebody when you want to create, for instance, a new task for somebody, but we will come to that later on in a digital asset management presentation. You can publish and you can unpublish a page, or also a folder. So that means all the pages inside the folder. When you publish it, you can publish it now or later on a certain date and time. And if you're publishing a folder, you can also select this option to publish only pages that have already been published and exclude all pages that are not published right now. Unpublishing is pretty much similar. You can also select the date and time when you want to unpublish your page. I will skip the next features because it's more interesting when it comes to digital asset management. What is maybe interesting is you can switch from the thumbnail view to the detail view. So you can also sort your elements according to the date or to the type of the different pages and objects. You can also select any kind of additional metadata or content field that you want to see in this list. So let's now open a page by double clicking, and now we can actually change the content of this page by simply clicking into a field. Here I can see a rich text field that I can also format, and then when I click on the title, I see I just can change the text without having the chance to format the text. I can also use the navigation to just navigate to the next page, and again I just can simply click into the field, change the content, and it will be saved automatically. Of course, it will not be online as long as I don't publish the page. So this way you can just simply navigate through all the pages, change the content. When you're done, you publish it. You can also take a look at the metadata, which is important for search engines. You can define the metadata fields on your own based on your template. If you don't like the inline editing, or what you see is what you get interface, you can also switch to the form view, and you can see all the content in a form presentation and can change it again in the form. Next is the template. So if you want to change the template of your page, you can do that here as well. The versioning keeps track of all the published versions. So here you can compare versions with each other. You can roll back to an older version, or you can delete the versions as well. Information is just basic information about the page that you're using right now. Up there we again have the similar features like send an email or a task to somebody. We can also add it to our list of favorites. We can check it out, means logging it for our user. We can publish, unpublish it, we can refresh it, and we have access to the help. Some of the icons are just deactivated because there's no workflow in use. If there will be a workflows in use, those might be activated, means to accept or decline the step of the workflow. Next, we want to look at our demo digital asset management publication. It has pretty much the same structure. It has again administration for the user management and the groups, as we have already seen in the content management publication. So I will not show it again. Then we have workflows. This time I will open the workflows and show you how to create new workflows. You can delete workflows and edit workflows. So let's pick, for instance, the release workflow, which is a very simple one with just 2 users involved. Then let's maybe take a look at the demo workflow, which is a little bit more complicated. So we have a user that will start the workflow. We can now click on this user and see that it can be anybody that can start the workflow because it's automatic select. If you don't want that, you can also pick a specific user from the list. You can also select a user group. That means all the users that have a membership in this user group. And then you can also restrict the permissions, in this case for the user that creates or uploads a new item has only read and edit permissions. So he cannot publish the content, for instance. The next user, the user 2 or the user 3, so both of the users can be a member of the next step and can execute the next step. We can again open it and can see we can select a user group. In this case, it must be a member of the user group administrator. He will take over the content from the user start, and he will also redirect it to the user start in case he will decline the content. And the permissions are read and publish. So the user can only read the content, but he can also publish the content, but he cannot change the content. And if you want, you can set the user active or inactive in this workflow. Last step, we see a script or a so-called robot. The script is a user that doesn't really exist in the system. It's some kind of functionality that can actually execute a step in the workflow automatically. So we'll take a look at the workflow scripts a little bit later. Of course, you can save the workflow, you can add new users and assign it into the workflow. You can remove inactive users, you can add new scripts, or you can also remove unused scripts in the workflow. In order to apply this workflow to a certain folder, we need to select one. So in this case, we can select a workflow. We can select maybe a specific folder that the workflow should be attached. So in this case, let's select the marketing folder. And now, after I save the settings, the workflow will always be executed for all new objects that will be created inside the marketing folder. Now let's take a look at the workflow scripts. So a workflow script can be created, it can be deleted, and we can take a look at it and change it. So here's just a short example of a script. You also will find an example using the help. So what you can do is, for instance, you can grab the content of this item. If the content is not empty, you can select the keywords. So if the keywords are actually not empty, we want to publish the object automatically. This is just a short example of what a robot can do. Of course, you can do pretty much everything that the System API offers you. So, for instance, you can also resize images and publish them to different websites. Next, let's take a look at our templates. We have component templates. Template includes, so code fragments that can be used inside the other templates. We have metadata templates and template media. We don't have page templates since we are not managing any pages here. What is important is probably just a metadata template, because if you're operating just an asset management solution that stores mainly assets without any other type of components, you just want to define a metadata schema. So you can create a new metadata template, you can delete a metadata template, and you can also change an existing one. In this case, we just have one metadata template, and here I see all the definitions. So we have a field named title, the label is also title, the label is used to display an expression or also an explanation to the user. Then we have just additional information that this is a metadata field, and we can also define a height and a width if we want to, and so on and so on. So we have different kind of fields that we can use. So for instance, it can be a geolocation field, it can be an unformatted text, a formatted text, it can be a selection of text options, a checkbox, a date field, a keyword list field, unformatted comment, a formatted comment, it can be a watermark options that we want to use for the image. It can be a single component, that means it refers to one single asset, or it can be also any type of component or multiple components or assets. We can use a database connectivity, which is not important right now for us. We can also attach, if we want, a workflow to a specific type of assets that are using this template. We can add a HyperCMS script, means a systems API script. We can add also JavaScript to our forms. If, for instance, we want to disable certain fields when a specific value is selected in another field, or maybe a checkbox has been selected. So you can also add logic using JavaScript. More details you will find in the template designer's guide. Here we'll see some more examples and have more detailed explanations. You can insert a date and so on and so on. I don't want to go too much into details, but this is how you can actually define your metadata schema. Again, we have access to our versioning, so if you create different versions over the time, you will have access to it, and then you have just some basic information. So next we want to take a look at the license notification. The license notification can be used to notify users if a license will expire. So what we need to do, we need to define in what field we actually are saving the license date, what date format are we using. Then we can also define a list of users. Then we can say we want to be notified 1 month or 1 week or daily prior to the event when the license will not be valid anymore. We can also select a certain folder that the license notification should be applied to. So I just will select the marketing folder again. And after that, we just need to save it. Next, we have the metadata mapping. This is a mapping of existing metadata schemas of, for instance, images, which might use IPTC tags or XMP tags, Dublin Core namespace tags, and so on. Also Adobe's namespace tags. So you can map these standardized tags that might be saved in images or also in videos, in audio files, and you can map the information to your own metadata schema. So that way all the existing metadata in the files will be mapped to your own metadata schema. So you can just simply change it again if you want to. Next, we have a content or metadata hierarchy that you can define. I will just simply select an existing one. So here we see on the first level, we want to see the creator. The creator is a metadata field, and we can also see it here because this virtual tree, navigation tree, is based on our definitions here. So when we open it, we will see there are different creators, and on the next level we see the title, the description and the keywords. So when I open it again, I will see the description, the keywords, the title. If I open the title, I will see the title of an image of the specific creator named Coffee. So this way you can create multiple virtual navigation trees depending on your use case. Next, we have the taxonomy. Keep in mind that the taxonomy needs to be enabled for your publication. In this case, there's no taxonomy actually defined, so you have to build your own, but the system will come with a predefined taxonomy that you can use, but of course you can also create your own taxonomy. If you want, you can also import the existing taxonomy, or you can export your taxonomy again and open it in an Excel sheet. This taxonomy is also based on a hierarchy, so you can create a list, a structured list of keywords in different languages. So all the languages that have been assigned to the publication you will see here. Of course, you can also deselect a language that you don't want to see at the moment. And then you can go ahead and say, I want to fill in a certain expression. Let's say I want to type in car, and I want to translate now from English to German. And the system will automatically translate the expression. It will also do it, of course, for multiple rows. So when you add a new row, for instance, and another new row, and so on, you will just pre-fill it, and you will also select the level that you want to have this expression on, and you just pre-fill it, and then you can automatically translate it into different languages. Of course, you need to save the settings, and if you made any changes to your taxonomy, you might also want to apply the changes, because it might affect a lot of your assets that are using this taxonomy. Where are you actually using the taxonomy? You will see later on in specific keyword fields. We can refer to the taxonomy or also to specific sub-branches of the taxonomy. So now we finally want to take a look at our assets. Let me close those trees and let's open the assets tree. The assets tree is based on folders. So you can create folders that should be usually based on your organization. So the marketing department has access to all the assets in the marketing folder, for instance. And you can break down the structure based on your folders. Keep in mind that you can create virtual navigation trees based on the metadata that you're using for your assets. Let's open the graphics folder. It holds several images. Maybe we want to go back to our thumbnails preview. So we see all the different images that we have stored here in this specific folder. Let's take a look at some of the features of the graphical user interface. As you might have noticed, there are certain columns. For instance, you can sort all the items according to the file size. Maybe it makes more sense to switch back to the details view, so you can do the same again and see also the actual file size in the column. If you want to see more information in the columns, you can always right-click on the header and select any type of meta information that you also want to see in a new column. Let's go back to the thumbnails view. What might be also interesting for you, you don't want to select only one item. Maybe you want to select several items at once because you want to change several images at once. So what you can do, you can use the mouse to select multiple items using the area. You can also use the Control or the Shift key. So I'm pressing the first item, I'm holding the Control key and select multiple other items. The same with the Shift key. I press the first item and I select a range of objects. What can be interesting? Maybe you just want the download links directly. What are download links? Just a small explanation. If you open any asset and click on the Information tab, you will see that there are different types of links. So there's a wrapper link. If you include the wrapper link of this image into, for instance, your website, the image will be displayed. The download link is used to download the asset. So that means the system will force a download. An access link means if you send somebody this access link and you click on the link, for instance, in an email, you will be automatically logged in using the given credentials and the given user permissions of the account that has been assigned to the access link. So if we just want to see or work directly with download links here, we can use the Alt key. You will see the background color has changed. And what we can do now, when we right-click again an object, you will see that's the standard browser context menu. So what I can do here is I just can copy the download link and maybe paste it into my emails. So that's just a faster way how to access download links that you might want to use in one of your emails, for instance. Let's go back to the normal view. What you can also use is there's a sidebar. Let's activate the sidebar. Whenever I select any of those images, I will see a larger preview and I will also see some additional information, including the metadata as well. Besides the sidebar and the preview, you can always select any asset and you can have a larger preview. So it will be pretty much occupying most of the screen. So you can have a more detailed look on your asset. There's also a filter. So in case you mixed up different types of assets in the same folder, you can apply filters. Let's say you just want to see components, images, documents, videos, or audio files. The live view is disabled because in this case there is no live view available. Of course, you can open the document in order to change the content, the metadata, or the asset itself. You can rename the asset, you can delete it, you can cut it, you can copy it, you can again create a connected copy. I already explained before what a connected copy is. I just repeat it again. So whenever you create a connected copy and you paste the object again, you will have two objects using the same content. That means using the same, for instance, image and also the same metadata. Maybe you're using different templates for different presentations of the same object. So that's the reasoning behind this feature. And you can paste. Again, the same features you will also find here: cut, copy, connected copy, paste. Next we have the upload. I will show you this feature later. You can also download the file. Depending on the system configuration, you might find not only a download of the original file, but maybe also of different variants of the same image in different sizes, maybe even different formats, or a download to your Dropbox account. So this might change depending on what type of asset. Is it an image, or is it, for instance, a document? So if you take a look at documents, so in this case we have, for instance, a Word document. Again, I will click the download file. What I see here is now I can again download the original Word document. I can download the same document as a PDF file or as an open Office document file, as an image, or again Dropbox. If I select the video, it will be again different options. But let's go back to our graphics folder and just continue with the other features. So we can create, of course, a new folder, just provide a name. We can create a new object. This is just used if you are using components. So I will not present you this feature right now. You can also compress files. That makes sense if you select, for instance, more files and you want to create a compressed file. This is to uncompress a file. This is the send email link feature. I will just show you this feature right now if I click on it. You can now send an email to any of the users, or you can also type in a new email address, so of a user that doesn't even exist in the system. In this case, a new user will be created, and depending on your system configuration, he might have default permissions because he's assigned to a default group, or in some cases you can also assign a group to this user. Then you have a carbon copy, a blind carbon copy field, a subject, a message. It's pretty much like a normal email that you will write to somebody, or maybe to more people. And then you have the option: do I want to send download links, access links, attachment? So the download link means if I click on the link in the email, I will immediately receive or download the file. If I send an access link and I click on the link in the email, I will be automatically logged in the system and see the files that you have provided to me. Attachment will be like a normal email. The files will be attached directly in the message. This doesn't make much sense, especially when you use larger files. I would not recommend this option. It's just here if you want to use it for small files. Then you can also select download formats. So whatever you have been selected here, if it's an image, a document, or video, you can also restrict certain file types for the user. So in this case, maybe I don't want him to download the original image file. I just want him to download a very small image that fits in a frame of 640 by 480 pixels. What else is there that we can use? We can also set a period when the access will be restricted again. So let's say I want this link to be valid for 3 days and maybe 2 hours if I want to. So after this time, the link will not be valid anymore. So I cannot download or cannot access these files anymore. I can also include the metadata in my messages, and I can create a new task for the users that I'm sending this message to. So I can set a priority if I want to, and I also can set a start and end date for the task. If I want to, I can also force the system to send the email at a certain date and time. Other settings are I can also send the email to a user group, so all the users of the group will be notified. Some other settings are here. In case you're creating a new user, you can also select the language for the user interface if you want to. And in this case, we see it as a default group, so I cannot change actually the group. And the formats we have already seen. So this is the mail link feature. Again, we have publish and unpublish, which I've already presented you in the content management system publication, so I will skip this. The search is very similar to the one that you have already seen before. It's just a search that is now only looking in the current location for your assets. Yeah, and you have a little bit a larger user interface that you can use. There is a feature, however, that might be interesting for you, so you can search and you can also replace certain expressions in the current location, all the subdirectories and all the medias that are saved in this location. Let's close the search window again. What else do we have here? We can also import metadata. Just make sure that the metadata IDs match the column names in your Excel sheet or in the comma separated value file in this case. If you select multiple items, you can also export them and all their metadata as a comma separated value file, and you can open it in Excel, for instance. Now let's take a closer look at one of these assets and what you can actually do with one of these assets. So I simply double click the asset, and now we opened one of those assets, and what do we see here? Again, you will see the taskbar with some of the features. We know this already. That's the preview. We can upload or replace actually the current file if you want to. We can download it. We can send it again. We can add it to our list of favorites. We can lock it if you want to. The workflow has been disabled in this case. Publish, unpublish, refresh, and the help. On the right side, we can share this asset in different social media platforms. You can simply just click on one of those icons if you want to share it. We can, of course, we can save it, we can print it, but also will be important for you, you can see the number of views. So we had 36 views on this item, just one download and one upload so far. The annotation toolbar that you see here can be used to place markers on the image or to just place annotations on the image. So in this case, we already have a marker which is used for a building. Of course, you can set any other marker if you want to by simply clicking on an object and provide a name. I can use these annotations up there to just select any kind of tool. So in this case, it's again the arrow tool to place another arrow, and then I can use the text tool and say I want it in blue. So I'm pretty much using annotations, for instance, to communicate to other people. So for instance, a designer that is actually working on the image, that I want to have some changes on this image. Or maybe also on a document. So you can also use the same annotations for documents as well. You can just simply go through all the different pages and place your annotations in there. When we scroll down, we will also notice an edit button, so you can change the image. But let's just go through the metadata fields. So in this case, we have different metadata fields. a title, a description, keywords, keyword fields. There are a lot of options. If you're using, for instance, a list of keywords that is attached to your keyword field, you might see, for instance, I start typing A, I will now see a selection of all the different keywords that I can simply select. Maybe I have to select one item from this list. Maybe I can also say, I create my own new keyword. The list of keywords can also be provided by the taxonomy. So you select pretty much an item of your taxonomy, and in this way also the system can know where this item in your structured taxonomy belongs to. What else? There's a copyright, there's a creator field, there's a date field for the license, there's a quality. There are comments if you want to. So in this case, it's a comment that allows you to use the formatting of your text. You can define related assets, for instance, assets that use the same topic or that might be of similar interest. And if it's enabled, you can also see the geolocation, or simply you can also set the geolocation if you want to. So much about the metadata. Let's go back and let's see what we can actually change. So I click on the edit button. Again, I see the preview, and you will notice there are options up here and also down there. It's the same. You can simply open the options, and now you can, for instance, you can crop the image, or you can rotate it, you can flip it. You can change the size, you can adjust brightness and contrast, apply effects, change the color space, and save it in different other formats. Of course, I can also create a preview. So let's go back to the crop feature. I just want to crop this area here. Click on the preview, and now the new image will be created in its original size. If I can zoom in if I want to, so I can take a more closer look at the new image that will be created after I save the image. Keep in mind that you can use the Workplace integration to open, edit and save the files directly in your desktop using, for instance, Adobe Photoshop, Microsoft Word, Excel and so on, without the need of a browser. Of course, you can also select multiple images at the same time and apply the same settings to all the images. I want to show you the versioning, so all the different versions of the image. If there has been any changes in the image, let's just compare the first and for instance the second version of the image. What we will see here, there has been any kind of effect applied, so the image has been changed. The metadata is actually still the same, there's nothing new here. So maybe let's compare a different version. Let's do the same step again. And this time we see that also the text has been modified as well, because we see green, which means new, red, which means it has been removed. Then we have the information tab that we have already seen. What is interesting here in this information tab, you see the different type of links that you can use. You can also see the usage of the container. This is only interesting if you are using the same object in different variations, because you're using a connected or a linked copy. So you will see more objects here. You can see the access statistics. Here you will see the views, the downloads, the uploads. In case of the downloads, you will also see the user, or if you send somebody download link in an email and the user will not be authenticated in the system, you will just simply see the IP address and also the geolocation. So you can open the map and see where this user is actually coming from. You can see the detailed meta information. It's some kind of metadata information report that presents you all the original metadata that has been saved in the image. So it's still there, but it's not really of your interest. But here you can see, for instance, IPTC tags have been implemented in here, and also XMP. and you can see the information. This is also used to extract the information and map it to your own metadata schema. And we can also see the people that have received this asset. In this case, nobody has received the asset so far. Let's close this one. Let's take a look at some of the videos. So I open one of those videos here. And what might be interesting when you take a look at the videos, it looks pretty much the same. But when we take a look up here again, we see there have been some persons marked in the video. So when I click on one of these persons, I will jump to the frame in the video and I can see the actual person. If you want to select other persons in the video or any kind of objects in the video, you can use this select tool. What else do we have? We can also define a video text track. So you can define video text tracks in different languages. You can select the start and end. So when you say, okay, this is my start point, let's play the video, this is my end point, and then provide the text. If you're using the artificial intelligence cloud services, the video text track can also be created automatically by using speech to text. You can also create the keywords for your video automatically. The same applies for images as well. Keep in mind that the cloud services need to be activated. There's also a detect faces feature. If you want to detect faces in the video, you can edit the video and you can also embed the video. Let's click on the embed button. So what you see here is now you have different options and you can just simply copy this code and paste it into your web pages, so the video will be integrated into the web page. We can also edit the video. In this case, we again have the options. So we can change, for instance, the size. We can adjust some of the parameters like the sharpness, the gamma correction, brightness, and so on. We can flip it. We can rotate it. We can save it in different other formats. So we can, for instance, overwrite the original video. We can create a video for our video player. That means different sources will be created. And in any other formats that have been enabled in the system. What you can also do, you can cut the video. So let's start the video. We are playing the video. We pause it. We set a cut point. And we continue playing. And we set the next cut point. We want to remove the segment in between our points, so we can simply click on it and it will be marked as red, so you can remove it. Of course, you can always remove your cut points again if you don't want them. Keep in mind you need to save the video in order to render the new version of the video. As we see down there, there are already two versions available. Of course, the original video and then a different format, also in a different size of the video. So much about video editing. Again, you can select multiple videos at the same time and you can edit the videos in bulk mode. Again, we have the metadata as in all the other objects. The versioning is also available, so you can go back to an older version or compare the versions of the videos. Now let's go back to our graphics folder. Let's take a look at the upload feature. You can upload files by simply dragging it from your desktop into the new window. You can also select the files from your local hard drive. You can select it from your Dropbox account, from an FTP server, and you can start uploading them. There's also a function to uncompress files automatically, so the folders and the files included in the compressed file will be created in the system. You can compress all the files that you want to upload into a zip file. You can resize the images automatically. You can check for duplicates. So in case the same content of a file exists already, you will receive a warning and you will see the location of the file. You can also remove the files again on a certain date and time. I will select some files. So let's pick this one and this one. I think they're not in the system right now. So I can simply start now uploading these two files. After the file have been processed and analyzed, I can close my upload window again and I will see the files. Keep in mind that you can also enable the system to force you to provide metadata during the upload. So in this case, you will see the image and also the metadata fields one by one. So you can check, has the metadata been extracted already? Has there been some metadata in the image or not? So you can simply just provide the metadata during the upload as well. In this case, we have now a larger wallpaper, and what we see here, there has been some metadata in the image already presented. Our other image is this one here. Let's check it as well, and we see, yes, there's also some of the metadata available. Now let's take a quick look if you want to edit some of those items in the same time. So I select my first item that I just uploaded and the second item using the Control key, and I click on the Edit button again. So I will see my selected items, and what I will notice now is that some of the fields are disabled because there is different metadata already existing in those fields. And as a user, I should not be able to override the already existing different metadata. If it would be the same metadata for both of the items, or if it would be empty, like in this case, I can pre-fill the metadata for all the selected items. Of course, I can also render the images or change the images if I want to as well. The same applies for all the other assets. There's one last feature that I want to show you. In this case, I want to be informed if something has been changed with the two new images uploaded. Keep in mind you can do the same on folders as well. So everything that is saved in the folder, you will be informed if there are some changes happening in there. So let's right click the item and you will see Notify Me. Let's click on it, and now I can say I want to be automatically informed in pretty much real time when a new update will happen. So when somebody, for instance, uploads a new image and overwrites the existing one, or when somebody just changes the image in any way, when somebody moves the image to a different location or deletes the image. So it's up to you what you want to select, and you just save the settings. So that's the last feature that I wanted to show you. Now you should have a good overview about most of the features of the system. Thank you.